Hello and welcome in to the LFC Transfer Room post-match review stream. Where Liverpool have just lost 1-0 to Real Madrid out of the Champions League for another year. Go straight to you, Kev. How are you feeling after that result?
Slightly disappointed. I won't have it any other way. I thought we were going to do it tonight, but the belief wasn't there. Men against boys. I think Real Madrid just showed our younger players the standards to reach, and our experienced players the standards they should be setting to our team, which was lackily missing through the whole of the game, sadly. But yeah, how about yourself, mate? How are we?
Sad, really. I mean, I'm still getting a week in Turkey out of it, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, true. Like Kev just said, with the men against boys and stuff, Liverpool were very slow today, weren't they? You felt like if there was a bit more pace, we might have had a little bit of a chance.
Yeah, I think Kev said it for me. We didn't really look up for it for large portions of the game. I think the reverse in the first leg, we started off firing and then we kind of lost the plot after that. But there wasn't really that drive from those first 15 minutes of the first leg at any point in the game. It just looked like there wasn't much risk taking, not real, just a lack of belief that we could do it. And in the end, it just kind of faded away after the first half.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony? Any performances in particular that you were particularly disappointed in from our starting 11?
Yeah, I think Trent was the one who stood out the most, to be honest. I thought his passing all match was really poor. It's easy to get past him. I know Vinicius is a great player and all, but it's way too easy to get past him. And even Modric, man, he's 37 years old, just flicking it over his head like he's not even there. And just his crosses, man, his corners. I know Trent and Robinson aren't the best corner takers in general, but they were really poor today. And I thought that was an area we could have took advantage of with obviously Van Dijk, Nunes, Konate, Gakpo, but we just didn't do enough. And I felt like maybe 7 or 8 of the players didn't look like they're properly up for it. Everyone's pretty much touched on that. Aside from Van Dijk, Alisson kept us in that match. Albeit we did lose, but he kept us in it for so long. And maybe Gakpo as well. But aside from that, I thought the rest of them were quite poor.
Yeah, Kev, going to you on that about something I want to highlight myself, Mo Salah. Now, I know he's still scored over 20 goals this season, but games like today where you need him to step up more so than ever, and some of his passes are shocking, and he just doesn't seem at it since that new deal, really, does it? Despite scoring 20 goals, this isn't the Salah we're used to.
No, and I don't know what's going on with him. Now, at the start of the season, I was finding excuses for him left, right and centre, saying it's a new formation, a new forward line, we've got to try and get used to it. But he hasn't looked anywhere near the levels that he should be, and tonight just proved it again. As I said, the standards that should be set was set by a 37-year-old in the middle of midfield alongside Cruz and Benzema as well, who was unbelievable, I thought, tonight, and deserved his goal for it, and credit to him because he is that kind of player. We are missing that kind of liveliness from him. We see it in bits of what he does, but it's not enough for me, and it needs to improve. We can make excuses that he's been playing out of position, but someone of his ilk and for what he can do, he set the standards. And if he's not accepting those standards and those standards fall, then he needs to be reviewed at the end of the season like everyone else in this team, apart from Alisson, for me.
Yeah, and Drew Gary said this comment about Darwin should have stayed on. You mentioned that before. Carvalho isn't good enough. I think that's a bit unfair on the lad. He's barely played for us. But Nunes sub did seem a bit mad, didn't it?
Yeah, for me, that kind of seemed like we're almost giving up because, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have another game after this until April, right? It's kind of seemed to me a bizarre decision not to just go all out at that point. I was okay with Jota starting, but at the same time, he hasn't really had much game time. He isn't fully up and running in the team. So I was wondering, and after the first leg too, it seemed like we just got overran in the midfield. So we kind of basically played without a midfield, just Fabinho and Milner, and did enough to contain in the first half, but Alisson really saved our butts. So it also wasn't like Real were going all, guns blazing on us either. But I know Klopp didn't have, the likes of Thiago or Henderson or Bajcetic to pick, but it was just frustrating that it seemed like we never really went for it in the end. And taking off Nunez is, when we need a goal, didn't really make sense to me. But what can you do?
We're going to put this one to you, Anthony, seems as you raised about Trent, how bad Trent was. But do you feel sorry for him, because he is basically our only outlet, like Tolu's saying, and at the same time he is meant to be marking Vinny as well, who's probably one of the most exciting wingers in world football right now.
I understand like the comment, but at the same time, it's like sometimes I know some players get a lot of criticism, like they don't even look like they're trying or they're bothered. But like Trent's walking around half the time. Like I remember the first half. There's a good attack. I think Salah was through, and then you had Trent on the right hand side, and Trent was just jogging there, like just sprint, man. Like he doesn't even look like he's bothered. Like I said, with the defending as well. When Modric stripped it over him, he just stood still and started looking around. Like, do your job properly, man. And I know we say he's the only outlet, but then Robertson as well, he's another one. He was really poor, I thought. He kept giving sloppy passes away, and we almost conceded as well from Valverde. And both them, the pair of them, they've been awful this season. I think Robertson gets a lot of praise, but I just don't think he's hit that form when we were in the Premier League winning season, and same with the Champions League one. He's definitely shown glimpses, like against Man United. I thought he was incredible, but he's just not been that consistent this season. And Trent, he's been the worst one. He's just too. Doesn't look bothered anymore, and he needs competition. Obviously, Ramsey, we signed him to try and do that, but he's just been injured. So I think if Ramsey can't get over those injuries, we need to sign another player to sort of compete for that right back spot and push Trent even further. But at the moment, it's like these are the matches where he needs to be taken off at halftime, because he just doesn't look bothered. And when you're seeing the likes of Nunez get took off, it's like that is the point where I sort of lost all hope. I know it's bad losing hope in your team. I don't know about you lot, but when Nunez got took off, we took off two forwards for two forwards. We did the same a couple of weeks ago. It's like, what were we trying to achieve from it? I thought it would have made sense maybe putting Elliott in midfield, and I know he's not the best defensively, but we needed goals at the end of the day, and we didn't score a single one, and we still managed to concede. So, yeah, I think Trent was a huge problem today, but he wasn't the biggest one. I think the way we set up was in the substitution.
Like Gary said here, Kev, this was my biggest issue. The team didn't even fight.
No. And you saw that after the Nunez chance. Once that went, it felt as though it deflated everyone in the team. And then we couldn't lay a glove on. It was an open game, the first half. And how badly we played, we still created chances. But that was the biggest chance. That goes in. And then I think the momentum, the belief would be there. But there was none of that. I totally agree with that comment. It was as though they were just playing as though it was the first leg, and we've still got another. It isn't 3 goals that we need to get. Like, do you know what I mean? That's what it felt like. Our balls from defense to midfield to attack were very poor. Shortcomings all the time. The final third, our final ball was just absolutely pathetic and showed how way off it was for us, because you look at the quality we've got in positions, and the ball was either too short, too far. The Salah one summed it up. The ball to Nunez was just a pass I could have made, and that goes like the defender against it. There's too many things there's too many things. Like, there's though like they weren't even asked at times, and that's the worrying thing, is that kind of mentality that we've had over the last 5-6 years on the clock just seems to have been punctured and was no longer there, and it was deflated quite evidently from after that Nunez chance for me.
What's next for you then, Drew? Because like Kev said, we've looked deflated for large parts of the season. There's been a few performances where you think, oh, Liverpool back, like the 7-0 against United, and then we go and throw it away against Bournemouth and stuff. Is top 4 achievable, or do you think that's even out the question now for Liverpool?
No, I think top 4 is still in the cards, and I think that's obviously the only thing we really have left to go for this season. I think we just need to get ourselves in the mix, because it seems like I'm questioning how we show up against United and absolutely play them off the park. And then, the Bournemouth game just a week later, I don't understand the drop in intensity. And then the game today just didn't really go for it. But I think the best thing we can do is get ourselves in the mix where every single game matters and Klopp can get them up and, galvanize them for top four. I mean, we saw it in the center back crisis a couple of years ago during the COVID season. It seemed like once we were really under the pressure, we can go on a run of form. We've seen that when we've gone head to head with City for the league. So hopefully Klopp can bring that out of the team and get the fight going for the rest of the Premier League season, because top four is achievable and I'd say absolutely necessary for the club next year, and especially for transfers.
Well, you Anthony, what do you think's next? Top four probably relies on Bellingham. I don't think Bellingham fixes everything. So what's next for us?
What's next? I'll try and get top four at the end of the season. I'm still I genuinely think it's 99% we will get top four, just because we've really got nothing else to play for now. It's we're out the Champions League, and I think we're in a better position than people think we are. We still have to play Tottenham. We still have to play. I know we still got a few big matches to play, especially in the next few weeks. But if we beat Tottenham and we actually fix up, because we've got a couple of players coming back from an injury, Diaz, I think Thiago will be back maybe after the international break, and he definitely improves our midfield as it is. And maybe Arthur could show our midfield a few lessons in how to play midfield properly. So Arthur, Thiago, and I reckon we'll fix up and get top four, because what are we, 3 points off at the moment? So get top four and hope for the best for next season. And like you said, no, Bellingham doesn't fix everything, so FSG have to invest in that squad, and hopefully they do it. I just got a message, my mic's crackling as well, so I'll let you speak. Sorry.
On our tour, Kev, I thought he was meant to be back in January. He isn't back. Most worst loan going now, isn't it?
Who's this, Arthur?
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's sad in a way, because at first and initially what he was saying, and I thought we were pulling a rabbit out of the hat, because it was questioned by Juve fans at the time as, have we missed a player there and all like this. So it hasn't gone the way it has done. Is he an answer? I don't think he is. To be honest, I don't want one of those players who played in a 4-0 drubbing by us when he was playing for Barcelona to step foot on our hollow pitch in red, to be honest. But it's that aside, he's I don't know, it's a bit like the Ben Davies thing that we had, do you know what I mean? Or Davis who came in. Is it going to bring anything to us? No. We haven't got a game in the next 15 days, so is there any point in playing him at all? I believe we're not going to renew we're not going to pay the fee to keep him, which is quite right. But I just don't see the point. What can he do in that midfield? That is he going to improve us in any way? I don't think he does. What do you think, Matthew? Do you reckon he can produce anything for us in this last part of in the last 12 games that we've got left?
I don't think he can be much worse than what we've been playing. Do you know what I mean? I think he comes in and it's not going to get worse, is it? So if it doesn't get better, then it's just another option, I suppose. But I don't think it can be much worse than what it is, and I don't even know with this club anymore, to be honest with you.
It's a mad one, though, isn't it? Because you think he could produce something, and there are bits of a player if back in the years that and he has had a lot of injuries. So if they're behind him, then there may be a player there, but we haven't got the time to give someone that opportunity when we're trying to fight for a top 4 place. We need our best players, and if he doesn't even get to that standard, I hear what you're saying, Matty. I just wouldn't play him at all. Do you know what I mean? There's no point. We need to fight, and if we can't, we need to fight for this top 4. That's all we've got going now. And it's great that we've got 15 days, but I thought this in the World Cup. During the World Cup, we'll have that break and we can do something. I just think the fight is a big thing and a big mental factor with this mental block that we've got at the minute, and that needs to be fixed if possible in the next 15 days for me, because this is going to be a big uphill challenge. If you look at the teams we've got Man City, Chelsea, and Arsenal on our next three. Now, they're not going to be easy games, do you know what I mean? And they're all fighting for something. We are fighting for nothing. So that mental block's going to be a problem. And that's the biggest thing that we need to get over in the next couple of days, because our top four hopes could rely on those three games going our way and us picking up points.
Yeah, when I put this one to you, Drew, about what Hugo said, Alisson and Konate, the best man of the bunch today. With Konate, had he started that first leg, I know we can all say if buts and maybes now, but had he started that first leg, do you think Liverpool will be in the quarter-final now?
Probably not. As highly as I rate him, it was kind of a capitulation on multiple fronts for the Real Madrid loss in the first leg. That calamity of defensive, just lack of judgment for the Vinicius first goal. I don't think he changes that. Alisson's error for the second. I think there were a couple bad passes that led to their later goals, deflection. For me, the team is lacking leadership. I mean, only Alisson in between the goalposts can do so much, but who's galvanizing the players on the pitch? Like that for me was the biggest thing in the first leg was how do you go 2-0 up and then not like solidify your lead, like take the complete flip side where when Real Madrid took us by the throat, they didn't let up and they were calm and they were confident, and they had composure, they had leadership. We keep talking about Toni Kroos and Luka Modric midfield, Benzema up top. They have leaders all throughout the pitch, and it almost seems like people are shying away from it a little bit. Like we were talking about earlier, Trent kind of seeing exasperated, body language. Same with Virgil at times. Milner, I thought deserves a little bit of shout for. I thought it's not saying much, but he was one of our best players in the middle of the park. But 37 years old, with a player who we signed on an extra year with the expectation of playing a bit part role, to see him playing so many games, I think just speaks to our injury crisis there and the lack of quality elsewhere. So I don't think Konate, as good as he is and as brilliant a future he's going to have, I don't think he changes the situation the team is in right now, the lack of belief.
Is it a midfield injury crisis, Anthony, or is it just a bad midfield and poor investment to be starting 37-year-old James Milner in a Champions League knockout stage against Madrid?
You know what, as well, I'm going to throw another one in there. I think it's down to Klopp as well, because I just don't think Milner was the best option today. And I know, Drew, you could say he's played well, but going forward, he was never gonna offer like a real threat against Real Madrid. I'm still, I know you don't like him, especially you, Matty. Keita, I still think he should have started, or Harvey Elliott at least, because you're still getting an attacking threat there. And someone who could pass the ball forward. There were plenty of times in that first half where Salah was through, or Gakpo had a good opportunity to run through, and they just opted to pass it backwards or sideways. Henderson would be perfect for this match, to be honest. Sideways and backwards, passing his dreams off it. But I just don't know. I think it's a mix of things. Klopp, he's too low to these players. I don't really see why Milner should have got an extension on the back end of last season. Who else is there? What are we talking about? Sorry. Oh, FSG not investing in the squad. Klopp did come out though and say at the beginning of the season he listed about 8 or 9 midfielders and said, "You tell me what midfielder we need." But we clearly do need some midfielders if we're still starting a 37-year-old against Real Madrid. And then obviously, Drew, you touched on the injury crisis. We're so poor without Thiago. He makes us look 10 times better. And that question before that I was posed to Drew, if Konate started, would we have gone through? I don't think so, but I think if Thiago and Konate started, then we would have had a good chance of going through, just because he has that extra bit of quality that none of our midfielders have. And I just think he's that good. And it's a big problem at the moment with that midfield, and we keep banging on about this throughout the whole season. And the only thing we could hope now, get top 4, Hopefully someone fixes up in that midfield and we find a perfect combination. Get to the end of the season, get top 4 and invest in that midfield.
Anthony talks about Keita, Kev. And do you know what, for once I think I'd agree with him. I think Klopp got the midfield wrong today. I would have rather have not started Jota and started Keita in the midfield with Fabinho and someone else, whether that be Elliott or Milner or whoever. That guy Anthony alluded to, Keita offers that bit, doesn't he? He can break the passing lanes and stuff going forward.
He can, but it's great looking in hindsight as to what we would have and what we shouldn't have done. At the start of the game, I was happy we were going with 4 attackers. I wasn't too bothered who was playing in midfield. The idea was to try and break down and prevent Modric and Kroos getting on the ball. And that's where Milner, I think, gets the head and knock over Keita. I think Keita's head has gone. I think we saw at Palace that he's no longer part of this team, doesn't want to be here, and is very poor. So putting him in against Real Madrid, is his mindset going to change from what we saw 2-3 weeks ago? I don't think so. I was quite happy. I agree with Drew. I probably would have not played Jota. I would have played Firmino and played Gakpo on the left and then played Nunes up front and have Firmino as a number 10. That's the only change I would have made. I was quite happy with the team, and I think a lot of people would have been happy. But now we're sitting here, I think it's because of the mentality and the block that I've mentioned that they can't get over at the minute. And that's the reason why that today, as I said at the start, it looks like men against boys. It would never have caused nothing. I think we would have lost more balls in midfield than what we lost with Milner and Fabinho in there. I just think there's something missing with Naby at the minute, and I think he wants to get out, and we're quite happy to go. And I think he was just there as a squad player as to make up the numbers on that bench tonight, sadly for him.
Drew, Charlie's mentioned, based on the performances I've experienced, lads are putting in recently, to just give the kids a go, like Cornes, Clark, Dowach, if he's okay. Obviously, after his scrap against Sporting. Because they will put their all in, or is that suicide given top 4s on the line?
I think it could be a bit of mix. Like I'll raise my hand and say that when you and Charlie were talking about Bajcetic, like starting more, I was cautious of throwing him in a team that just seemed to be capitulating and potentially ruining his confidence or his chance of getting into the team. But he completely proved me wrong. It's not like I didn't rate him. I just thought his age, that he should have maybe a little more easing into the team and not thrown in the deep end when everyone's drowning. But he proved me wrong, and he's been arguably our best midfielder since he started getting into the side. And I wouldn't throw everyone in at once, but especially when you see a game like tonight where it just looked like we didn't go for it. And, especially in the midfield, and maybe Doak for Salah at times, giving him bigger cameos, because it seems like Salah plays every single 90 minutes that we have. So they definitely deserve to get thrown in when we're playing like this or like against Bournemouth. But I wouldn't just completely just go gamble on it and throw everyone in at the same time. But I definitely think this is an opportunity for some of these young players to come in and potentially take places, especially in the midfield, because it looks like anywhere up, I know Keita and Ox are going, but Milner's contract is still in question, and there's spaces there that need to be filled. And as you said when we started the stream, like Bellingham's not going to be the only answer. So there's opportunities there for the young players, and Klopp should give them to them in the games coming up.
One young player who doesn't get a sniff, as Gary's alluded to, he is Carvalho. Now, it's a bit of a mad one because it looks as though Klopp has full control over transfers coming into Liverpool, but Carvalho just doesn't look like a Klopp signing at all, does he? Or he's done something wrong.
I know. I remember, was it January we were going to sign him and we couldn't get over the deadline. Everyone was like, we've got our new Coutinho or whatever, but he does not play. I think beginning of the season he did fairly decent. Obviously, he's new to the Premier League and that, so he still has time to adjust. But there's certain matches where you're just thinking, just put him on. And instead, Klopp sort of opted for another midfielder. Even when we lose, was it against Bournemouth? He still didn't bring him on. you just got to question that sometimes. Maybe he's not showing enough in training or anything. Like we obviously don't know. And he had that falling out with, was it Portuguese under-21s manager? So like maybe it's an attitude thing, or like literally nobody knows. So he's still obviously, I think he's still young, so he's got plenty of time. But it's a strange one. I don't think really that you could throw many comments towards it because nobody knows. Like he's a forward, bring him on in matches we're losing. So it just doesn't make sense at the moment. But I think in the matches he has sort of played, he's shown like glimpses of what he can bring, especially against Newcastle in that last sort of 5-10 minutes. He scored the winner as well, and against Bournemouth. Then again, it was against Bournemouth. But I kind of disagree with the earlier comment. You can't just keep throwing young players into this team, man. Because imagine if Dart started against Bournemouth, we lost, what was it, 1-0, and then his confidence is drained. You've just lost the 20th in the Premier League, and like then what? So I don't think you can just keep throwing young players in. With Salah, you still know he could just turn up one week like against Man United. We literally beat them 7-0. It's just random. Yeah. So Salah was like he scored 4 goal contributions that match. So you can't be like just benching him, especially considering there's literally no depth in that right wing spot. But likewise with Drew, I didn't see Bajcetic being that good. So you never know at the end of the day. Throw one of them in and who knows what can happen. But with Carvalho, I do think he deserves some more game time, but nobody knows what's going on.
What about you, Kev? Would you give Darwick a go and say like the last 20 minutes of games, bring Salah off, show him that he can be dropped sometimes? And what about you with Carvalho as well? What do you think he's done, or do you think it's a case of bedding in, or do you think he's going to say at the end of the year, listen, I've joined you, I've played about 6 times, I'm off?
Carvalho one is an intriguing one for me. I don't think we play him the way that he played for Fulham. I don't think we have a style of formation that suits his style of play. I think the Portuguese one. I think that with the under-21 Portugal, I think because he's walked away from the Portugal side, that may have something to do with it as well. Bit of animosity between the two of them. Who knows? It's shouts, as he said, it's shouts of a player that isn't a Klopp kind of player. He's not an intense kind of player. Having said that, though, you look at the glimpses we've had of him, and especially in that Newcastle game. But since then, he's only had like 2, 3, 4 minutes. Do you know what I mean? It's mad how someone who won us the game and played well in the last 10 minutes of the game, we don't see him then till shouting for him to come on off the bench as an attacking option, and it still doesn't get looked at. Doak for me is the most exciting talent I have seen. I know you've seen him more than I have, Matty, but I've been absolutely impressed with him, especially against Leicester in the League Cup this year, where he came on and he doesn't care who he plays against. He doesn't care if if it's Maldini playing left back, he won't give them the respect. He'll just run at them and be tenacious. I love that in him. I quite like that kind of play. He looks as though he's a player who can be on the edge of things and can cause a bit of eruption up front. Why not give him 20 minutes? Especially in games, especially in the home games. I'll be giving them them. The only problem is with that, though, and it comes with our actual fan base, our social fan base, because we are very extreme. Our fan base, nothing ever is in the middle, and yeah, we will take a defeat. It's always the worst thing that can ever happen, and I feel sorry for some of the kids that are playing. Curtis Jones being one who gets a lot of stick when they come on. It's a shame, really. Do you know what I mean? But why not give them 20 minutes? Give them the attacking options. Play Doak and maybe Carvalho and see what happens. I don't know whether we could do that, but you know what I mean? There are options there with the youngsters that we just need to look at and maybe challenge those players who are currently there, who are not producing, or do it in fit starter moments. We see glimpses against Man United how good we are. Had we not lost against Bournemouth, I think a lot of people would have thought we would have feared for Real Madrid going into that game tonight on the back of it. The fact is that Bournemouth game's deflated, punched us. So why not start with a bit of energy up front, throw them on? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't do any harm, I think, myself personally.
And Drew, with kids like Bellingham and Carvalho and stuff, I'm not saying in the next 3 games they're massive. It'd be suicide to throw something like that in. But is it worth the fixtures you see, like Bournemouth, where we lost there? Do you not think it would have been worth starting Carvalho as a 10 and changing the formation of it to suit him? So Bournemouth wouldn't have prepared that because we never do it. Is it not worth Klopp maybe trying to do things like this and even starting earlier as a 10 in a natural position for these players?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of last season when we were coming to the end and still fighting for the league. Was it that game against Southampton when he started Minamino and got us over the line there, kind of switched it up. I think we had Champions League around then. But yeah, it does seem that that's a shout, Maddie. I'd agree with that. I think I saw in the comments Charlie too saying like after the 3 big games, if results don't go our way, it's definitely worth trying. If we need to get top 4, and I think I don't know what the mentality or what's going on in the dressing room, but somehow Klopp's got to rally the dressing room and get them behind a top 4 challenge. It's there to be won, and for me, it starts. Obviously Klopp's the orchestrator of it all, but I just want to wake up, especially 4:30 a.m. matches where I'm at. I don't think we've won a single one this year. I just want to wake up at these early matches on the weekend and see us like going for it. Just like the United game. I don't know. I get the big nature of that game, and getting up for it probably is easier than away at Bournemouth. But top 4 is huge, and we need to get the lads to that level where we're fighting for every game from the start now. So if that means switching it up from time to time and giving those players who have something to prove and a chance to claim a place, then let's mix things up. But yeah.
I'll put this one to all of you, but I'll start with you, Anthony. It's the last thing we'll speak about. Charlie's comment about if we do need to sell some players to fund somewhat of a rebuild this summer, Jota's first on his list to go. Because I do think he has looked a little bit off the pace since his injury, whether that's me being unfair because he hasn't been back long. But myself, I've only ever preferred Jota off the bench. I think when he starts, he's not as good. He's an impact sub. If we had to sell players this summer, I'll let Kevin and Drew get to think about this for you on the spot, Anthony. Would Jota be someone you'd sell? Considering like we've got Gakpo and Nunes on that now.
Oh, I'm not sure. It's just because who's going to replace him, and I still think we need that forward depth because we've seen it now. Like Diaz is out, and then what happens when Gakpo and Nunes gets injured again? Then we're missing another player. And for 70 million though, it's definitely like something that could tempt me. But then again, I'm not in charge of Liverpool transfers, so I can't see Jota leaving. I think Klopp loves him, and when he is firing though, so like when he is on form and stuff, he does look really good. And I think we saw it against Man City when we beat him 1-0. He was incredible. Although he didn't score or assist, he was tracking back. He was doing everything like what Klopp loves in his forwards. And I think when everyone's fully fit, he's probably our best striker anyway. To be honest, like I think our best front three is Nunes on the left, Jota, and then Salah obviously. But I wouldn't sell him. No, not. Maybe for like 100 million, but not 70 million. No.
What about you, Kev? Because Anthony's just give his front three there. I'd slightly disagree and say I think Gakpo's overtook Jota for his track and back. We've seen it today with a few challenges on the edge of the box, on our box. He's really, really fast. He's tall. He just looks more in it than Jota has lately. For 70 mil, would he be someone you'd sell if we had to sell players for a rebuild?
If we have to sell players... it depends though, because my problem with that is unfair is that we lose that 70 mil and we buy someone up front and we again miss out on bringing a play our priorities, which is in midfield. If we are going to sell them, I think everyone has a price, and I think at some point you've got to be ruthless with this team, and we can't be as loyal as what we have been in the past. And we've seen where that's getting us 5 years down the line. Jota, big 12 games for them. If I'm being perfectly honest, and I agree with you. I think Gakpo has overtook him. It's a hard one for me. I agree with you in a way. He's good when he comes off that bench, and is probably is potent when he does do that. When he starts, you don't get that kind of energy that you normally see from him. Me being me, I see Paisley as the template for any Liverpool manager. So I would. Paisley would have got rid of him. I'd definitely get rid of him, but I'd be replacing him with someone else.
What about you then, Drew? Would you replace him with another left winger? Or what? Charlie's point's very good here in a sense of this war chest we've got for the summer is probably going to ultimately buy midfielders. So we do need a right wing cover for Salah, as we've seen. Though probably is a bit too young. On the left, we've got Diaz, Gakpo, and Nunes, who are all very strong on the left, who can all play in the middle. If Jota's going to get 70 million, you're bringing a backup in for Salah, who's solid, who can give you another dimension, come off the bench, change games. How would you feel?
Unless we got something like a $70 million bid, $80 million bid, I think that's worth taking a look. But I'm actually quite happy with the forward options. Especially with Firmino leaving, so that's a spot right there. I like Gakpo up front. Like the Man United game kind of just showed what Nunez, Gakpo, and Salah can do all together when firing. I think the injuries are a concern, but maybe with a full preseason and a better medical staff or something, those options I'm happy with. I think Dope comes in and can challenge Salah or at least get 20 minutes at the end of the game, especially next season. But for me, it just comes down to midfield. Like, I think our midfield's been dire the whole season. We've relied on Thiago the entire time, and he gets an injury. For me, it's the injury problem. So that I can see Charlie's point with Jota being injured, but I think this is I guess he got injured last season too. So
yeah, we've got to accept his injury prone now, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the situation where it's like a Oxlade-Chamberlain, where I would really rated him, especially that first season when he came in, but then he'd come back, have flashes, and then get injured again for half the season or the whole season. So there does come a point where we need to be ruthless, but I'd only sell him if we need that money to reinforce the midfield, and I hope that's not the case.
How about you, Matthew? Where do you stand on that? Would you sell him or?
Yeah, I think I would. I think with Jota now, we've got to accept his injury prone. The history over the past few seasons would show that. He was unbelievable when he came in, and he was very, very good off the bench. But for me, Jota now, I feel like, like what Drew's just said, if we keep him next season, he could be firing for the first few games, then injured again for 6 months. And I'd rather get 70 mil for him, and it gives you that other option, because sometimes I think with Salah, when he can't be asked, he's like, well, who's going to come on and replace me? So if there's an option there, it makes him play better. We've seen that with Robbo, with Costas and stuff, and I just think we need competition for places. Which I just don't know. Especially, I think we're buying Gakpo, especially, who's another left winger, and that's Jota's natural position. To me, that just sent signal at the end for Jota, because why do you need Diaz?
Yeah. True.
Gakpo and Nunes there, because when Diaz is fit, he walks back into that left wing position, and Darwin's your £68 million summer sign, and he's not going to get dropped, so he's going to be down the middle, isn't he? So I think he's got to go. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Disappointing night for the Reds. Very disappointing night, to be honest with you. But at least I get to go to Turkey for a week. Unless there's United. If there's a United fan and City get the final, I'll sell you my flight to Istanbul for 10 grand if you want. Very fair price, I believe.
Every cloud, like
yeah, every cloud. Yeah, we'll leave it there. We will be starting to stream again as well for any people who used to watch us quite regular. Doing a little bit of a shake up and getting everyone back firing. So you'll see more of us again. So we'll be back with streams about transfers and stuff in the next few weeks, and we'll be back after the next game, which is a big one before that as well. So hopefully a few more streams this week. So if you are watching, you are new, do leave a like and a subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. We've been LFC Transfer Room, and nice one for listening.